Welcome to your 2018 Lunar Report. I'm Tammy Taylor, your manifestation muse. And yes, this is a report for the emotional moon sign because this is all about taking charge of our emotions. It is about being very clear about what our intuitive guidance is saying, because by knowing what energies are available to support our wants, desires, and our needs, we're able to more effectively engage in our lives. So this isn't about control. It's not about being able to dictate or to predict the outcome. This is about knowing scientifically, astrologically, cyclically, based on universal and ancient truths of the cosmos, what patterns are available and are working for us and on our behalf. We know them here on the Great Mother Speaks channel as the lunar energies of Great Mother, the Holy Spirit, that still small voice that operates through the lunar cycles. It is that moon that is constantly revolving around the earth, the ego child, the ego body. We are the children, aren't we? And as children of the Great Mother, Father, God, especially during the holidays, which we've just come through, we're often asked as children, what do you want? And just generally in life as a child, you can recall being asked every time you saw someone new or a parent introduced you to someone or a teacher or a new class, what do you want to be? Remember that? Well, Great Mother, Father, God never stop asking us that, because as souls, we are never done evolving. We are never done wanting. We are never done experiencing. And so every solar cycle, every lunar cycle asks us that same question. And so as children of the Great Mother, Father, God, we are divine. We are seen as divine. We are not seen as weak. We are not seen as victims. That is an illusion that we have accepted. And so that is the part of the weak ego, when we talk about the weak, unhealthy ego that has taken on that illusion as an identity. There are three concepts that are very important for viewers to the Great Mother Speaks YouTube channel. The first one is that we are divine children of the Great Mother, Father, God, which means we are dearly loved. You can see here the logo says, you are dearly loved. What does that mean? The second principle, that we are never judged or condemned. Does that mean there are no consequences for our actions? Absolutely not. There is karma. There is karma for everything that we do, good or antagonistic to our needs or to the needs of others. We are never judged or condemned. Never. Never. And we don't judge or condemn other people because we know, especially based on what I'm about to share with you about the first quarter of this year, we never have enough information to adequately judge anyone. These are general readings. Can you imagine when they get more specific? So we don't even go there. And the third principle is that because we are dearly loved and are never judged and condemned, we're never alone. Regardless of that illusion that the unhealthy ego has, we are never alone. We have countless guides, angels, and ancestors assisting us on a daily basis, on a minute basis, on an eternal basis. Are you kidding me? So, Great Mother, Father, God, even through the sun and the moon, ask us every day, all day, what do you want? In the moment of question, of uncertainty, what do you want? In the moment of confusion, of despair, what do you want? We have the power to assert that, but fear of this power, based on the unhealthy ego that says I'm constantly being judged and condemned, I am not loved, I am alone, is afraid to embrace that power. But here on the Great Mother Speaks channel, you know that that's where these readings come from. That's where the information comes from. It comes from a place of knowing that we are in constant evolution. We are constantly growing up, and we're constantly being asked with love and adoration, what do you want? So that is how we interpret and perceive the energies within us and around us, because after all, astrology is the science of spirit come into form. And as such, We are I am spirits in the physical form. I am Aries. That is the statement of Aries. We must know who we are and be as we are before we can have. That's the statement of Taurus. We must have what we want before we can think, which is the Gemini statement. We must be able to think clearly before we can feel clearly, which is the Cancer energy. We must feel clearly before we can will. I will, which is the Leo energy. I will is necessary before I analyze, which is the Virgo energy. Before we can analyze, we have to will ourselves to be interested in anything to analyze. Before we can analyze anything, before I balance, I must analyze, because after all, what am I balancing? That is the Libra energy. I balance. I must balance before I can desire. Before we can desire anything, we have to balance within ourselves clarity to assert a desire. The Scorpio energy. I desire is necessary before I see, because I won't know what I'm looking at. I won't have focus. I must desire, Scorpio, before I see. The Sagittarius statement. I must see clearly before I can use something. The Capricorn energy. Before I can know something, I must use something. I know energy of Aquarius. For me to know something, I must be clear about its use, about its purpose, about what it is. The Aquarius energy, I know. And I must know something before I can believe it. The Pisces energy, I know before I believe. And I believe, Pisces energy, before I am. What did we believe before we came into form? Of course, Pisces energy is 12th house, unconscious, isolation energy. We are away from everything. We are in meditation. We are in retreat. We are in a place of clarity, of believing in something. And so when we are disincarnate, we are in spiritual form, there is a belief crystallizing around matter, which creates the physical form of the Aries body. That passion, that fire come into form through Aries. This is the way Great Mother has channeled to me the relationship between the Vedic and the Western astrology as they are used on her channel to do readings with the Great Mother Speaks deck. This deck is going to be used to give you a report, and the Vedic is the soul energy. It is the soul energy of being in the full moon. Just that being. What do you want to be? And as a child, we interpreted that as, what do I most enjoy? What do I have the most fun at? What am I being? And it would be pretend, wouldn't it? Oh, when I pretend to be a fireman, when I pretend to be a teacher, when I pretend to be a farmer, when I pretend, what am I being? And we would translate that into an occupation, the doing, which is the actual energy of the new moon and the actual energy of the ego. And so the ego action that is required to follow through with the desire of beingness in this physical realm. What we want to be, we then create, or we pretend, an outer garment, which is exactly what the soul believed in Pisces to create the I am. So the Vedic is a very intuitive, soulful, deep energy of soul experience. So that is where we're drawing the first part of our astrological transit information from. And then we look at the Western in relationship to that in terms of the ego reaction to what the soul is experiencing. What is it doing? What is it feeling? What is it thinking? Okay, so we will get into that a little bit more deeply. But before we do, remember that each lunar cycle, from the Cancer full moon, January 1st, to the March equinox in Aries Taurus moon, we will get clarity, balance, and confirmation about what phases are most supportive for experiencing this ego soul alignment. Okay? And so again, as children, we really didn't know what we wanted, did we? We did, but the translation, it gets lost in translation. And the more we understand the language of signs and symbols, the closer we get to exactly fulfilling what it is our intuition, our sensitivity is actually saying to ourselves. And as these areas within us, and particularly speaking to sensitives, intuitives, and empaths, as we generally grow in these areas and within ourselves, and as we mature by integrating these energies in our lives, we become more attuned to Great Mother, Holy Spirit, Yin energy, that still small voice of our highest good, which enriches our lives. Enjoy your report and go to greatmotherspeaks.info to get yours for this year. Well, here is your 2018 first quarter lunar report. What keeps coming up are threes. There are 3 eclipses that will come into a completed thought form for us in this first quarter, starting from the total solar eclipse of August 21st, 2017. There are 3 major planetary transits in Uranus, Jupiter, and Saturn. And Great Mother guided me to use the 3-card spread of clarity, balance, and confirmation. Clarity telling us how we are approaching the new year. The balance is how we are transforming ourselves and our situation through the clarity that we've received. And confirmation is the integration of what has occurred, what has happened, and our understanding moving forward, which reflects the energies of the lunar cycle. For you, the first quarter, we're beginning with the month of January. That card that came up for you is Hattar, the Great Mother expression of the pleasure principle coming through for you Pisces moon people. In the new moon second chakra card, all of these cards in the Great Mother Speaks deck are based on the 49 scenes of the Wizard of Oz. And this is the scene where Dorothy is walking her dark black and white path away from the farmhouse. And this is after Miss Gulch tries to take Toto. The Ankh here represents, of course, the breath of life, but this is being breathed through the second chakra. And of course, this is what we do around the ages of 7 and 8 years of age. We begin to establish our own relationships in the world away from the home front. This is how you are entering 2018. You are actually moving away from some old ways of living your life into a way that more genuinely aligns with your true desires. The Hattar card always asks us, are we moving away? Are we running away from something out of fear, or are we running toward our bliss? And so you're entering this year running toward your bliss. The year opens up with the full moon moon in clarity. It is a bright moon. It is the Cancer full moon of the year. Of course, Cancer is ruled by Great Mother Lunar energy, and it is in your 4th and 5th houses, 4th Gemini in the Vedic and 5th in the Western astrology. This is telling us that you on a soul level are communicating your needs at home as a mother and as you are being mothered, whether that's being cared for or you're caring for others in other ways. You are communicating on a soul level with them. Either this is soul to soul or you are intuiting what needs to be said, and it's emotionally being responded to you by you as this Cancer energy in the 5th house, this maternal caregiving energy that has its own self-expression. And so there is some talking going on about the home front. There is a energy around creativity and confidence, because the nakshatra that is supporting this, the deep lunar Vedic energy on this particular day, is Mrigashira. Mrigashira is extremely loving, emotional, and creative. It's a maternal caregiving energy, confident and very explorative. It's really kind of down for anything. It has confidence, convincing communications. And so for people who are in sales, or if you're a creative director of some kind, maybe you are a momager, a project director, on this day you're going to feel a thrust on toward the middle of the month, to where this energy carries through, because we come through quite powerfully in the new year with this pleasure principle for Pisces moon people, the I believe collective unconscious, with Uranus having been in Aries in your 2nd house for the last 7 years. It will remain there until May, when it moves into Taurus. But now it has come to a culmination in your 2nd house of values, what is most important to you, what you travel. And so over the last 7 years, you've been getting extremely clear on how to order your life or reorder your life according to your values. And so now with that, you're ready to move forward with what has been happening with the nodal transits that we've had since May. The nodes tell us where the collective unconscious is evolving. And for you, this is in your 12th and 6th houses in the Western astrology. In the North Node, which is where the soul is evolving to, the 6th house is the Leo energy for you. And so this self-expression, this Leo energy in the 6th house, your daily activities, work, your health, you are as a collective unconscious in the Pisces lunar constellation, moving toward expressing your needs in that area and releasing in the South Node 12th house energies, Aquarian energies, that have to do with feelings of isolation when you're in a group, feeling not understood or appreciated because of your unique gifts and talents, releasing those feelings of isolation and embracing the Leo confidence energy that's supported by this transit and nakshatra of Mrigashira. On a soul level, speaking of the Vedic, what's happening is that Rahu, the North Node in the Vedic, is in Cancer. So this further fortifies that domestic home life, maternal energy in terms of where the soul is moving. It's moving toward this in the 5th house, that self-expression. What is it that you're expressing at home? What is it that's so new that's coming through? The new year is beckoning this awareness to you as the soul and Ketu releases in the South Node in the Vedic Capricorn 11th house energies of outworn commitments to groups, to extended families, to social networks. What are some of those old things that you've been doing just out of routine in groups and in social network sharing and that sort of thing that no longer serve where your soul and where your ego, your actual practical emotional body wants to be in relationship to your home life? This is the full moon energy. and you are perhaps even experiencing some marital challenges at home as a result of this clarity coming through about what's really important to you and what's not. So it's very important to get in tune with this so that your needs are articulated the way that you need them to be articulated, or that you can at least sit back and observe what's happening with awareness and activating this pleasure principle. Because the other planetary powers that are introduced at the beginning of the year are your Jupiter energies in Libra and Scorpio in your 8th and 9th houses. On a soul level, of course, that 8th house is transformative Libraic energies. That has to do with relationships, close relationships, and commitments that you've made to friends and family, whether or not they are in balance with what you actually need in terms of support in your life at this particular time. On a soul level, there's a rebirthing of relationships, which is being manifested emotionally from now until about October, as long as this transit lasts. In the 9th house, Scorpio is in your 9th house, where you actually see where and how you want to move forward in relationships. So maybe there's some changes there. Maybe there's some shifts there, and that's what could be bringing up some challenges. That's what could be bringing up some clarity that needs to be discussed and articulated, because Saturn has just recently moved into Sagittarius and Capricorn, your 10th and 11th houses. So on a soul level, at work, there is some teaching, training that's going on, either you're doing or that you are having right now at work. And this is translated into an emotional experience at this particular time of new public social responsibilities, perhaps, and commitments. Maybe there are new disciplines that you're having to learn, some new ways of working, and interacting with people on a daily basis. These are energies that are culminating at this particular time. There's new self-expression at home. There are new energies that are supporting this, and this carries through to mid-month, and the 16th of January is where this Hattar energy comes into the new moon in Sagittarius Capricorn. Now remember, Saturn has just moved into Sagittarius Capricorn, and so this is conjunct. This new moon is about planning and thinking about how you're actually going to be integrating this new discipline in your social life and in your perhaps social networks and in groups that support you, particularly at work. This new learning, this new teaching, this new training that's going on. How is all of that going to hash out? How is all of this working out for you in terms of your soul evolution? Remember, Saturn is the great-grandfather time of the cosmos, one of our ancestral planets, who comes to visit us within the 28-year cycle, always to make sure that wherever it is, and where it is now is in Sagittarius Capricorn, that it asks us in different ways, are you doing what your soul incarnated to do? And so now what the soul is asking, what Saturn is asking the soul for you, is in your 10th and 11th houses. So Saturn, which typically offers a transformative opportunity for this pleasure principle that Great Mother is coming through for you and saying, that for you has to do with using Saturn's boundaries, limitations, lessons, and tests that it gives us to make sure that we are on schedule in the reality of this physical realm, to take advantage of its amplified powers in its home sign of Capricorn. Saturn rules Capricorn, and that is in your 11th house of friends and the power of the collective group. And so how are you refining that and redesigning that to take advantage of the new things that you're learning, the new ways that you're learning to use your gifts, talents, and abilities? This 11th house where Saturn is for you, is offering this stupendous opportunity. And you can see that by rewatching the new moon video on December 18th. That new moon was also in Sagittarius Capricorn because it was on the cusp, and as well as the Vedic, it was in Sagittarius and in Western and Capricorn. So this is a revisiting. It's not only a revisiting and in the same constellations, but the day after, on the 19th, is when Saturn moved from Scorpio into Sagittarius in the Vedic and from Sagittarius into Capricorn. And so that shift took place the day after. Great Mother was saying something to us on that day, and to you she was saying, disappointments won't derail your divine destiny. So scroll down and look for that video for you. It's the new moon video just a month ago, January 16th to December 18th video, Pisces moon. Disappointment won't derail your divine destiny. So during that time, before that Saturn transit, there were some things that were coming up for you that may have been disappointing, maybe some things that were unexpected. Everyone has their unique cosmic calculus. See what it was for you, because now the opportunity comes around to see how this transit is working once again, as everything has aligned with this new moon, which is the period of planning. It's the period of planning the new lunar season. So for the next 29 days. This is about using the Saturnal energy to balance the limitations, time, and resource restrictions to develop supportive relationships in your career, social groups, networks, your public image, etc., etc. The I believe vibration of Pisces is very, very strong with the Hattar card, believing that your bliss is worth following. On the 31st of January, at the end of the month, as these energies culminate by you working with them and becoming clear about what Saturn is transmitting to you, and your intuitive downloads of how Great Mother is guiding you to follow your yellow brick road of your bliss, you're going to find that on that full moon, there is a total lunar eclipse. How you work with this energy, with this consciousness, is through your 5th and 6th houses, Pisces moon people. This total lunar eclipse is in the Cancer Leo moons. This is the exact same placement that the total solar eclipse was on August 21st of last year, the eclipse that the entire world stopped to watch. On this eclipse, it was on a new moon. Solar eclipses happen on a new moon. As we can remember, that sun was out during the day in the United States, which is why it was visible to us. It was in the constellation of Leo, Leo in both the Vedic and the Western. The new moon was in Cancer Leo, Cancer in the Vedic, Leo in the Western. We had a very strong sun and moon with so much Leo energy, which is ruled by the sun. Great Father energy was eclipsed by the moon. Cancer Leo, Cancer is ruled by the moon, And so Great Mother energy came and crossed that, and everyone saw that it went dark for a moment. When we have a solar eclipse, it blots out the sun in order to pull from the darkness, the shadows in our lives, the unconscious, inconvenient truths in our lives into our conscious mind and into the light so that we can squarely face them. It's a cosmic reset button. That's what makes it so powerful. And that's what makes it so empowering for those of us who consciously work with the energies. That energy at that time was supportive of anyone who was willing and able and available to take up challenges and not back down from them. And so we've had a lot of challenges and confrontation since that time, especially since Uranus has been in Aries, and it's now in its latter degrees of Uranus in Aries in the latter part of the 7-year period, which is when transits are the strongest. And so that's why there's so much conflict. These are all things and all reasons why we know not to take things personally. family. These are cosmological transits. And so that's why we work with the flow instead of trying to work against it. Back to the 31st of January, it's full moon total lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses happen during full moons. And this full moon is in Cancer, Leo, your 5th house of Cancer. The soul energy is that self-expression of your home needs being actually felt by the ego emotionally as unique self-expression in your daily life. So just in the daily life of living your life, being able to stand up for what really resonates for you in terms of how you run your home, how you mother your children, how you take care of yourself health-wise, and what you actually need. Maybe sometimes when we have a change of diet, that can create conflict within the family unit, but being actually able to stand up for that in such a way that it's a matter-of-fact way. It doesn't even attract conflict because it's something that you know that you need to do, because the nakshatra that supports this is the energy of Pusha. It's ruled by Rahu, which is the North Node in Vedic. In Vedic, the North Node is now in Cancer. So there's a lot of support for evolutionary movement towards self-care, toward the care of others in a mature way, because this is in the latter degrees of Leo. So it's very childlike and fun-loving, like Leo, but it is also a very self-caring, a very self-mothering, a very self-loving and self-protective energy, not a selfish energy. It's a little bit more mature. And so on this day, the full moon on the 31st, energetically, you're going to be supported to be more self-caring and more self-loving. And you will have that boost to express yourself and your needs in that way, as opposed to doing so in a conflicting way. Because as we revisit the energies on this day from the total solar eclipse on August 21st, you're going to energetically feel the North Node pull towards where your soul wants to go in this Cancer, Leo, because that is exactly where the moon was during that total solar eclipse. It was also in Cancer, your 5th house in Vedic, and Leo, your 6th house in the West. So this revisiting of this energy is how we know that. The difference is that in the interim, if you have been doing the work, if you've been downloading, you've been working with this energy, well then the shift for you has been, at that time, the sun was in Leo, your 6th house. And so it came to the light that there were some changes needed in how you were expressing yourself in your daily life, at work, and your health needs, and perhaps even how you were analyzing your daily life, how you were looking at it, how you were devising your daily routines. And since that time now, with this full moon, the sun is in Capricorn Aquarius. So the evolution should be on a soul level that from that time, the soul wanting to express its daily needs in a more unique, internally genuine way, with the sun shining on the 31st in the 11th house of Capricorn, which is the discipline to organize your actual life, to share this expression with your family, with the group, with your social groups. And now expressing that in the Aquarius in the 12th house. And so the sun now is in Capricorn Aquarius, your 11th and 12th house, where it was just in Leo, this selfish. And so that's where we're getting this evolution to more mature, self-loving, caring 11th, 12th house energies that have to do with really thinking about how you are going to express your unique needs to people, really taking into account what you have learned since that time. And so there's the evolution. And the Hattar card for January is telling us, because it's a new moon card, that there is a void at the beginning of the year in terms of really being open to what this blank sheet of paper for 2018 has in store for you to write your future upon in terms of following your bliss. On the 15th of February, working with this energy moving forward, you're going to find that the new moon is in Capricorn Aquarius. This Capricorn Aquarius energy is in your 11th and 12th houses, just as the sun was in the full moon on the 31st, just 2 weeks ago. And so you see how these energies reverberate, they return, and they give us other opportunities to work the energies in other transits. The card for this one is Tara, the centering card. Now, Tara is telling us that one of the things that you're going to be energetically feeling is a centering. You're going to be feeling that you finally have reached the end of this journey in terms of really being clear about how you're expressing yourself at home and how you are using what you've learned at work to now be more clear about your public image. And all of those things that seem to be so disparate before are now coming together. This third eye in the card is telling us that there's an inner wisdom, kind of the clicking of the heels 3 times, all of those desperate parts just coming together. Well, this is the case because this is the completion of the total solar eclipse energy of August 21st. Because it is a partial solar eclipse. The eclipse will not be complete because there will be a bit of a crescent there, but it is a partial solar eclipse. Solar eclipses are reset buttons, and so it will be a reset from the original reset back in August, just to align you. And you know that from this Capricorn Aquarius moon and your 11th and 12th houses, which is about you really kind of planning how you're going to let go of the outworn commitments and feelings of isolation and alienation that you've had in the past from the group. Remember when Dorothy clicked her heels 3 times, she was ready to go home. But remember, she left home and was following her bliss with this Hattar card. And why did she leave home to follow her bliss? Because she was feeling alienated. She wasn't feeling appreciated. She was feeling that she and Toto were not wanted. And so she's at the end of the journey of realizing that indeed she is wanted because she now wants herself. So release those feelings of isolation and alienation from the group, or at least set the intent to do so, and you will be supported because Capricorn is in Ketu. It's in the south node of the Vedic, which means that energetically you're being supported. Galactically, to let go of any old commitments and responsibilities you have to the group that don't serve you anymore, as well as emotionally feeling isolated from the group with Aquarius in your south node. We know this is further supported by the nakshatra Shravana, which is all about getting clear about where we are wasting or misusing our energy. And this comes to play with clarity about whether we are misusing our energy as a smothering mother, or we are being smothered by our mother, or we're being abandoned, or we are abandoning. This is all about the energy that is wasted in those two activities of that continuum. Are you still mothering a 17-year-old or a 27-year-old the way you mothered them when they were 7 years old as a mother? That's a huge waste of energy, a lot of back and forth, a lot of unnecessary angst, because we all must grow and evolve, and we all must be allowed to do so. Or are you feeling that you are now 17 or 47 and you're still being treated like you're 7 years old by your mother or someone else who's a mother-like who may be caring for you? Get really clear about that, because this energy is going to help you release those old roles that you now believe no longer serve you, Pisces. Or maybe for you with Shravana, this energy is supporting being abandoned. Are you feeling abandoned by your mother or by others? And so you don't really feel enough support for you to genuinely feel like you can be a part of a new group now that supports you. or that at home, your new needs at home, the way you're articulating your needs for your diet, for example, we're using that as an example, are still being resisted. Where are you feeling that? Because Shravana wants to work with building and amplifying your belief in yourself, your collective unconscious vibration of I believe. Or are you abandoning someone who needs support from you? Maybe that's why you're wanting to restructure your entire home environment so that you can actually apply your belief that you have in yourself as a mother to someone else. These are very powerful energies. This is an opportunity during this new moon on the 15th to do a completion of that total solar eclipse from the 21st of August. It was in the sun of Cancer Leo. And so that means that now in the new moon, that's in Capricorn Aquarius, in the South Node in the K2, this sun energy that is like reverberating from that as well is in the North Node energy, pulling you toward that Cancerian nature, that home again, and that self-expression. And so there's a lot of support coming through for you to do these things that are being set up in the collective consciousness. And if you've done the emotional and intuitive, instinctive work that came up during that eclipse, what came from the darkness into the light then? Take a moment and think about that. Ask yourself, 6 months ago, where was I seeking balance? And what started coming up all of a sudden? Those are things that started coming up out of your unconscious mind. I need to spend more time at home, or we have got to change our diet. I've been wanting to clean out these cupboards, and I've been wanting to do something. What started coming up for you that kind of felt like it was all of a sudden? Those things, if you have addressed them, you feel stronger now. You are actually entering this year, and that's probably why we see this pleasure principle Hattar card right here, opening up the year with you, because you're there. You've been doing the work. And that's probably why back on December 18th, there was probably a little bit of disappointment whenever we changed gears and we do something a little different. There's trial and error. That's to be expected. And so if you've been doing the work, you feel stronger. You probably feel a lot more accomplished as a human being. And so that's why you're following your bliss. You're like on track. If you haven't been doing your work, well, then the Hattar card would indicate the latter, which is, running away in fear, just running away from what you don't want to face, and there being some feelings of moral weakness, just feeling morally weak, not able to stand up for what you really believe, or maybe you're feeling ignored or abandoned or a little bit self-absorbed right now and incapable of handling these internal changes that you feel need to happen. We know Piscean energy can go either way, and there's a yin and the yang of what we believe. And so Great Mother's coming through, and she's saying that the supportive energies for you, Pisces moon people, will give you the strength to center in February. If you work with these energies, especially here with this Tar, your third eye, your inner eye, that has to do with that inner belief, that internal belief. This is the waning gibbous moon phase card in the 6th chakra. So that is the sharing and Thanksgiving card. It's right after the full moon phase card. And so that is the integration of the illumination that has come from that total solar eclipse. 6 months kind of coming to closure with that and what that's meant for you. Isn't that amazing? So that finally, by the third quarter of 2018, in March, on the 1st, there is a full moon. This full moon for you indicates that in Leo, we see that Leo energy again. Wow, the reverberations of this completion are so powerful. This is in your moon, in the Vedic and in the Western, your 6th house, confidence. confidence. And we say at home, even though, Cancer represents home, Great Mother's coming through with this lunar energy and with this confirmation. Your card here is the Sphinx. So facing a challenge. What's the challenge? Well, the challenge is here. Sixth house energy of that work-life balance, your daily life. And for you, the daily life has so much to do with integrating what you know needs to happen for you at home and at work through the new things that you're learning. And so here, since we have such strong self-expressive energy from Leo, you're actually feeling like you believe that the changes in terms of what you are learning at work and how you are doing your daily life differently, it's going to work out. It's working for you. It's great. You're getting a real balance of clarity with this. This full moon is reflecting the great Father sunlight of Aquarius Pisces. Aquarius in your 12th house in the Vedic. Again, releasing that isolation and just receiving the downloads from your soul of your unique genius and your gifts and talents. So that first house in Pisces, you believe that your identity, your own self-image, you have confidence. You believe that you can follow through and see it. Because the energy that's supporting this is the nakshatra Maha, which is ruled by Ketu, the south node in the Vedic. And the south node is in Capricorn, and so releasing those old commitments, and so releasing those old roles again that you used to play at work and allowing the new to come in. Maybe there's a shakeup in management. Maybe there are less responsibilities that you have or more responsibilities that you don't mind taking on now because you have worked so much at home. And Maha is a very paternal, dignified Leo energy. It's also in the latter degrees of Leo, and so it's very mature. It's not a me Leo type of energy of self-expression. It wants to express in a way that everyone benefits. The lesson that this energy teaches, and you'll notice on this particular full moon on the 1st, it's really about letting go of the ego side of Leo so that the benefic aspects of it being so successful, whatever is planned during this time, people tend to succeed. It's a very royal energy. And so if you're working with this energy, it really helps you move forward because, again, it's ruled by Ketu. And if we accept what needs to be let go and focus on where we're wanting to go, we will be supported, particularly you, Pisces, with this Leo in your 6th house in the Western. So what is it that you're wanting to express in your daily life and in your health that you're wanting to move forward with, that North Node energy? If it's in your health, well then, if there are issues dealing with your feet, speaking of moving along the yellow brick road and clicking our heels 3 times and that sort of thing, Pisces health issues revolve around the feet, maybe bunions, corns, it could be a cold as well as lymphatic issues with the lymphatic system, poisoning and toxicity, that kind of thing, that type of buildup of a lack of release of the mucus. And so any health issues with that, needing to release the toxicity, working with the energy. That's how we consciously work with our health. And so the Sphinx card, facing the challenge, facing whatever challenges that you have in order to work with the supportive energy of Maha. Because on the 17th, the new moon in Aquarius Pisces is in your 12th and 1st houses. This is also indicative of a release of old feelings of isolation and alienation. And maybe there still needs to be some contemplation about exactly how you're going to share your gifts and talents at this particular time. Maybe you, because of the last full moon transit that was so uplifting and the ego was let go, there needs to be kind of a rebalancing here because the 1st house Pisces in the first house here in a practical level of planning your life means that, your identity, you do believe in yourself to be able to do what you want to do, but you're still wanting clarity. Okay, so new moon is planning, it's thinking things through. And so you are in that release process, you are facing the challenge. And as this card, the Sphinx, indicates here, it's a fifth chakra card. And so you're actually speaking these things into life. You're actually communicating what your higher desires are in order to gain balance. And facing a challenge in the Wizard of Oz movie here is indicated by Dorothy speaking to Aunt Em through the glass ball. And this glass ball is in the witch's castle when the witch leaves to try to devise Dorothy's demise because she cannot get the ruby red slippers. No longer is it enough to take Toto, which represents Dorothy's intuition, which is that I believe, believing in your intuition. Sometimes those who cannot develop or take the time or do the work to develop their own intuition, which is just practice, you have to work it. Okay, all of us are born with intuition. Just like any other gift, any other ability, some people can run faster than others. Some people can sing in pitch a little bit more perfectly than others. Some people's intuition, they were born with it stronger than others through lifetimes of working it. It didn't just happen. The soul will be born that way, but it's because of many lifetimes of doing it. So we can all develop the skills that we're all divine children of the great Mother, Father, God with our unique cosmic calculus. And for this, facing the challenge, it's no longer good enough to steal Dorothy's intuition. She wants the ruby red slippers, which symbolizes our birthright to be happy, healthy, and whole. Ask yourself at this new moon, what is it that you need to be happy, healthy, and whole? Because she is now speaking to Aunt Em about she is coming home in the face of death. She's being faced with death, and she's promising and she believes that she's coming home. You are coming home to yourself because you are releasing things energetically that no longer serve you. Ask yourself, what is it that you're coming home to? Because the nakshatra that's supporting you is Purva. It's ruled by Jupiter, that benefic planet, which now at this particular time in your life until October is in your 8th and 9th houses of Libra and Scorpio. So there's a rebirth in terms of your relationships, of your inner balance, and you're feeling that as a rebirth in terms of what you see, and you're following that bliss. You're centering yourself based on that bliss. So don't overlook the fact that this is a very challenging time for you, and Great Mother's coming through for you with this Jupiterian energy to have faith in your abilities. Have faith in your creative and imaginative and idealism and your abilities to tap into the occult sciences. The occult is the unseen. And so that is why Pisces is I believe. You believe in your intuitive side and your connection to the soul. Intuition is how the soul communicates to the ego. Emotion is how the ego communicates to the soul. Ask yourself, what is it that I believe right now that is true for me? What is it that I really, really need? Because that's going to clarify your identity in such a way that sets you up to receive a bountiful harvest in the fall. This is the first quarter report, but if you notice, the 17th of March is just 3 days before the fall spring equinox. That's the planting season and the harvest season in the southern hemisphere. This is in Aries and Taurus, your second and third houses, Pisces moon people. This is all about you asserting your values on a soul level. What is now important to you after all of these eclipses, after all of these nodal balancing acts, and all of this energy you've been working in intuition, trusting, and facing challenges doing? What is the value? What is the true treasure that you are wanting to share with the world? Communicate, Taurus, and third house. That is the soul seed that you're going to have for the spring. On the 31st, having worked with that, you will face a full moon in Virgo Libra in your 7th and 8th houses. For Pisces moon people, this is all about you being in a place of actually feeling like you have finally arrived at some balance in your daily life, in your work life, even in how you're analyzing your situation and trusting what is best for you, getting clarity about health issues if you have them. If they're not particularly colds or in your feet, bunions, corns, or even lymphatic, toxic or poisoning issues with your lymphatic system, wherever there is pain in your body, look up the acupressure or acupuncture point, because that is going to indicate to you what the reference pain is. So, for example, if your pain is in your gallbladder, has nothing to do with anything in your feet, and you say, well, feet is typically Pisces, you may find that the acupressure point to treat that is actually on your toes somewhere, which is typically where a bunion would be. Okay? And so that would be a reference point. There are many, many ways Great Mother speaks to us, and she's speaking to us all the time. That's on a soul level. And you're feeling that during this full moon on the 31st, Pisces moon people, as Libra in your 8th house, this rebirth of balance. Your desires coming into some clear way of having supportive relationships that reflect what you truly want. And you're actually going to perhaps even be working through that in terms of your identity in very new, real, solid, practical ways. A lot of this has been intuitive work, and I believe is, the hallmark, but this is where the rubber hits the road by the end of the quarter, because the full moon is shining in the great father light of Pisces and Aries. Pisces is your first house on a soul level. I believe that I am coming into balance with my Virgo in the 7th house. And that being experienced physically, great father energy practically as Aries in your 2nd house. You leading, you actually expressing and embodying your values in the world. Finally, as you face this challenge and as you actually consider what they are in light of the faith that you have in yourself, know that you always have a choice in terms of how you deal with things. You too have your unique cosmic calculus, and you at any time can release any roles, any ideas about yourself that no longer serve you, and return to the love that is in your heart, as Dorothy has done in this great epic tale of a heroine's journey. You too have yours. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that has blessed you and given you some insight into the first 3 months of 2018. Stay tuned for the 2nd quarter. That'll be uploaded, God willing, by the fall spring equinox. And remember, as always, Great Mother loves you, and I do too.